Okay, so we're back, and I put a block so we have something to shoot against. Anyways, should almost make a few other blocks that use physics so that we can actually hit something and knock it over. So we're just gonna quickly make a couple blocks like that, and we'll duplicate it a couple times. Okay, so now we have some blocks. Let's switch this guy's color. Just so we have a little bit of contrast happening. So, I think the first thing I'm going to do, and if you haven't watched my how to set up a first person in kind of an advanced way video, then go watch that. It'll explain a few of these things that I'm actually doing right now. This would technically be our player. This is for camera effects, and then of course you have the arms as well, right? Normally you would have a bunch of different arms. You'd have more or less an arm for each weapon, and you actually swap the arms out. We're not going to do that, but you'd also typically have two cameras. I'm not going to bother with that right now either. But what I am going to do is I'm going to add an FSM to this guy here, and we're going to give him an event called shoot. Oh, yep, it's a global. And what we're going to do is shake, game object shake, owner setup time just real small, linear shake speed might be okay. Let's put this on loop and just see how that shake actually looks. Let's go 0.2 rotation amount. Let's go 0.4, 0.4. Shake speed real short on the shake speed. Setup time 0.1. Okay, so now if I restart it, we hardly see it. And you do want this to be somewhat subtle. Obviously you still got to see it, but it's getting a little better. Let's get that little touch of a shake to it. Oh, that's way too long. It's too long. It's not too bad. Okay, well, that's probably good enough. Doesn't want to let me do that. Now I forget what I had for the settings. So let's. We had. Yes. So let's just set ones at the 0.1. Not looping, of course. Let's get rid of that. So that happens on a shoot. The other thing is, just in case, we want to keep this thing always at a certain rotation. So we're just going to say, hey, you know what? When you're done, let's just make sure you're 0. Okay, so anyway, so if we want to shoot and add force, actually, well, first let's set up a few other things too. Okay, so I have here a particle that is unactivated. That just is a kind of like a decal with a bit of a particle effect. Okay, so I'm going to use that. Now I've already kind of made a copy of it, but in it, because it was the wrong rotation, I made an empty, put it in, and turned it 90 on its X. So if I get mouse button down, left, we're going to fire. When we fire, there's, okay, for starters, we're going to want to send an event off to this guy. I don't like using that method. I don't know why. I just don't. We want our shake. The other thing we want is we want to tell the animator to trigger shoot, which I have going to the shoot. And then the other thing we want to do is raycast. For this stuff, it really doesn't matter on the order, but we want to make sure we're raycasting from the camera. And we're going to go, actually, we're going to use a variable for the direction. Space, self, distance, sure. We're going to have a hit event. We're not going to worry about the bool or storing the actual, oh, no, we do want to store the object. The hit object. Hit point, spelled totally wrong, that's okay. Hit normal. We don't need to worry about distance. Okay, we want to do next frame to a finished, go back. So if we don't hit anything, we're going to run this stuff and go back. But if we do hit something, we want to create, let's go to our variables and drag our little hole in there. So we're going to create our hole at hit point using the hit normal. We could also play a sound, but I'm not going to worry about any of that. And let's add force. So on the hit object, the vector is I don't have forward, so we're going to get forward from the eco. now we can get forward direction, move this to the top. And we want a vector 3 multiply, because the forward direction itself isn't going to be enough in the ways of value to a force. My forward, multiply that by, I don't know, we'll say 20. We want to create the object. We want to add force to the hit object. At position, hit point at vector my forward. Do impulse. Okay, so let's just do a quick test. Now we can't actually turn anything yet, but let's see what happens. Oh yeah, we got to change those arms. So there we have, kind of hard to see against that darkness, I think. Should probably make that a little lighter. Alright, so it is, oh yeah, and we're using that vector 3, so we've got to fix that up. So the reason why I'm using a direction, because I tend to like to make it a little more on the random. And we need a set vector XYZ. Put that below those, but above that. So negative 0.1 to 0.1 store as X. Negative 0.1 to 0.1 store as Y. We're going to set two aim. We're going to use the X, the Y, and we need the Z of 1. Because we want to shoot forward, but we want to shoot forward, there's a little bit of an offset. Now let's change this to a lighter color. Ooh, we can go all crazy. No, we just want a little bit of a lighter color. That's probably fine. It's ugly, but it works. Right, so if I now shoot, oh, does this thing have some transparency to it or something? Okay, so I'm going to try one more little add-on to this. Is if he's exploding that way, we're going to move him out just slightly. Just a touch. These bolt holes are going places. I don't know why they're not showing up against that. I'm just going to use a normal default here. It's almost like it's sinking in. Unless I got the rotation backwards. Or I just got to come out farther. Right, because if it's, well, he needs to go that way, right? So he needs to go in the negative Z. Or I moved him that far. Well, I'm going positive. We're going to go the wrong way. There we go. Now we have some bullet holes showing up. Obviously not that, well, the screen's small, but okay. But there's obviously some randomness to it too. Okay, so the other thing we're going to do is we're just going to quickly add a small mouse look onto this. sensitivity to -2. Let's maximize that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that in negative. Okay, so oh, yeah. See, this is silly. I gotta move this to the bottom because when he hits, he was hitting and he was getting that event and it was going, but all this stuff was underneath him, right? He can go to the bottom. This stuff's got to be above that raycast. Okay, well, that's looking a little better. The arms, they have that weird look, and that's just, that should be fine. View. What else can we add on to this? Let's add so when you do muzzle fire, you want to make sure it's not played on awake and not looping on any of that. The other thing you want to do is go with world. That way if your gun's moving around, you don't get the whole particle flying around everywhere following your arms. It looks kind of silly. So what we're going to do with that is right at the top, particle system, we're just going to call method to play. There are actions that do that for you. But I don't have them right now, obviously. The other thing we need to do real quick is change that back to a positive, because that's just driving me nuts. So now if my accuracy is off a little too far, one thing we could do is just double that one. Okay. So now probably, I don't know, move my character a little closer so you can see those. That or move the wall closer, one or the other. But there is some effects happening. Now, with the bullet holes, if you hit something like that, you would normally parent those bullet holes to the object as well. I'm not doing that right now. And the other thing I'll show you real quick is if we had, say, 2 texts. Well, you can even just use one. Go 2D mode. Let's stick this guy up there. I'm not scaling my screen, so let's make sure the position, well, it's good enough for a demo. So if you had bullets, I like to use ints because ints for some reason to me are better. That's just personal preference. I have no idea why. So if we have current ammo, max ammo. So if every time we shot, regardless of whether we hit something or not, you can store that little variable in there real quick. And we want to int convert into string. So say we have current ammo, we're going to make a string called current ammo string. Duplicate that to a max ammo string, and then let's build three parts. We want current ammo, put that for the middle piece, second piece max ammo, don't need to add a separator to the end, to set ammo text, UI set text, UI text set text. So we are wanting to use the text, set them to set ammo text, and then he can go up there. So if, for example, say our current ammo is 9, our max ammo is 9, and every time we shoot, we want to make sure this happens, so we're going to stick it near the top. Current ammo -1. Okay, now it's still going to show a new text right at the beginning, but if I shoot, I now have bullets showing up saying, oh, there we go. And then from there you could run tests as well, that if your bullets are 0, let's not continue that shooting, right? So that's kind of some more of the effects on how we would do this first-person shooter style. And that camera effect, I just want to see if that was going off, because it didn't seem very strong. See, it's not even going off. Well, why is that? Well, let's take a look. So we shoot. Oh, I'm sending to the owner. No. Set game object, use owner, specify object, camera effects, FSM, shoot. Now let's take a look at that. There we go. Now we have more of a oomph when we shoot, right? Now, like I said, normally I would parent those bullet holes to whatever we're hitting. And then probably use a little bit of work on the decals as well. If you're in HDR, the high render pipeline, you can do all kinds of neat stuff with the projectors. But anyways, that's a little more on how we set up some first-person effects. Anyways, we'll catch you guys later in the next video.